from Kerrigan's. Meat. My new friend. Fuck, that's terrible. Gives him in now, fam. Let me get a knife. Gives a boy a knife. Sink is disgusting. And yes, knife. Right, so. Currently getting meat from Kerrigan's. As of this moment in time, I don't think we have a discount code. We'll get you one though, fam. Don't worry. Okay, I had cut it the complete wrong way, but we're in. We're in. Right, what did I get? I kept it pretty simple because I'm just buying my food on kind of a weekly basis now, so I'm budgeting for everything pretty well and just ensuring I'm buying what I need but not too much. So, got these turkey burgers, the buffalo style. I haven't had them before, but I am excited to try them because they do look and smell very good. I got 2 packets of them, I believe. Oh no, 1 BK Flamer. I have had those before and they're delicious, so I'm looking forward to having those again. And then I did get some mince because this is probably the meat that I consume the most. So 2.3 kilos of 97% lean, which I'm really happy with. So good job on that, Kerrigan's, because I actually haven't had 3% mince before. So I am really excited to get stuck into that as well. So thankfully 2 bags, that's actually really handy because now I can put 1 in the freezer. Same with those, 1 of those in the freezer, and then they will keep. I'm not going to do the whole lot. Thanks so much, Kerrigan's, because I paid for them. Just didn't get them for free. So they should be thanking me. But yeah, no, I actually do recommend the products, and we're not sponsored or affiliated with them. Wouldn't mind being. But yeah, no, we don't really do affiliateships the whole file. To be fair, we were getting our meals from Body Fuels, which was great. I highly recommend Body Fuels. The only reason that we're not getting them anymore is simply because I just enjoy cooking my own food, and we eat way more vegetables than is kind of normal, and I didn't want to be buying their meal or getting their meals, availing of what was a really amazing service, and then, you know, dumping them in a frying pan and cooking them myself with loads of other food, because I think it would go against my morals to then say that, oh yeah, I love their meal so much, but I go and cook them as part of a different meal. So I don't know, I don't think that looked very good. I don't think it was a good image, but no, I actually did really enjoy Body Fuels meals, and I would recommend them, and I have recommended them to other people since. So yeah, try them if you're looking for pre-prep meals, but Kerrigan's for your raw meat is good. And on that note, I am about to eat my 3rd meal of the day, so I'm going to show you what I normally eat for my main 2 meals of the day that are the same kind of every day. Regardless of my calories, these meals don't really change. But yeah, so that is this bad boy, and that is lean mince, which you will have just seen me put away. So lean mince, kidney beans, broccoli, and Asian stir-fry veg. So I make 2 portions of that, and in total it's 300 grams of lean mince, a full tin of kidney beans, a full bag of Asian stir-fry veg, which is 750 grams, and a full bag of broccoli, which is 500 grams. So ton of food volume there. Like, Tupperware is actually, it's pretty deceptive in that, like, that looks like a small meal, but if you put that in a plate, it's a big meal. So those 2 meals are like, they're really filling, and in total I think they're about 1100 calories together, and then the rest of my calories are always spread across 3 other meals of the day. And yeah, they're those meals that I'm always talking about. You'll have heard me talk about them on Instagram stories and stuff like that. The 2 meals that don't really change. But yeah, heat that up, add some salt, happy days. Something very quickly, okay? So this is actually kind of a pretty specific topic, to be honest. It may not apply to all of you, but it will apply to some of you, and I know it applies to me, okay? So this is the concept of, you know, putting your feet out when you squat. Okay, so we've kind of known in recent years, and I think everyone's grown to accept that we don't need to squat with our feet facing directly forward. I think most people get that by now, but that also doesn't mean that everyone should squat with their feet out to the same degree. And a lot of information given tells people that, you know, your knee has to track directly over your foot, and that's not always true either, because if you look at my situation, okay, so I've got like a torsioned tibia essentially, so I'm going to show you how to assess for that in a second, but I want to first show you what it looks like on the skeleton. Okay, so when we talk about tibial torsion, we're talking about the relationship, pretty much the relationship between the ankle joint and the knee joint. So in a normal person, this bony configuration is going to be pretty straight, in that the front of the patella is going to be directly above the front of the ankle joint. So that would then mean that as the ankle joint flexes, or dorsiflexes rather, the knee can flex or extend in the exact same direction, and you'll see that tibia and that ankle and maybe the hip move in line with each other, to put it very simply. Okay, so that can be related to the actual shape of the bone. Okay, so the actual shape of the tibia itself, which may be subject to some rotation depending on your individual tibia. Okay, and now let's look at my leg. Okay, so my feet are always out like this. Okay, I walk like this, people think it's funny, and you know, a lot of people will come up with some sort of pathology for it as to why I don't walk like this. Okay, but if we then like kind of put my feet down, find where they naturally fall, you know, people come to the conclusion that, oh, you've got weak this and weak that in your hip, or you've got this issue with your hip, when in fact it's actually coming from my tibia or my knee joint. Because what you'll see is that even though my foot points out in that position, my tibia my patella rather, points directly forward. Okay, so that's the plane that my patella faces in, and it's not in line with my foot, meaning that there is something below the knee joint that is causing that rotation. So for me to squat and try and put my knee in the same direction as my foot, it's actually pretty uncomfortable, and I need to be slightly inside that for my knee to flex naturally. Okay, so as you'll see me squat, I'll have my feet probably pointed out more than most for a given degree of knees outness, we're going to call it. Okay, so as my knees travel out, they're not going to travel out quite as much as my feet would. So you can assess that too. All you need to do to assess that is do just as I just done there. Okay, so you'll see that I kind of looked at the direction my patella faced versus my foot, and then that'll kind of tell you whether or not your knee should travel in the exact same plane as your foot. And this will be affected by other variables as well, like your foot posture and things. But the main point I want to get across is that we can't give the same information or advice to everyone, because it is completely individual. And you know, the best advice I can give you really is to take what you're experiencing, what you're feeling, and then apply it to yourself. Okay, so think that, all right, if you're experiencing knee discomfort or ankle discomfort, or something just doesn't feel right when you're squatting, then take a look at yourself. See, do you have any individual kind of differences below there that you might have noticed before, that someone might have pointed out as abnormal as such, and see if it actually makes a difference when you modify it. It doesn't necessarily mean that it will result in a positive change for you, because we're not all supposed to be anatomically perfect. There is no normal. We just have kind of averages that give us some sort of assumption as to what normal should look like, but it doesn't necessarily mean that being an outlier is necessarily a bad thing, or that it's going to cause injury, which is typically the kind of idea people get in their heads when they see these anatomical differences or biomechanical differences. Okay, so that's just one specific thing. You know, we're going to have hundreds of vlogs, so I'm going to go through hundreds of these small little kind of nuanced differences between people, and that one was that tibial torsion. It's a difficult thing to visualize, difficult thing to kind of understand, but I think put it in pretty practical terms. So assess yourself.
So this question caught my attention because I think it's something that doesn't really get addressed very often, but it was a question that came in from a guy who has been bulking for quite a while, meaning that he's been eating in a calorie surplus, which is typically, you know, supposed to improve recovery, it's supposed to increase our ability to tolerate training volume and to get back into the gym again later on or in the week or whatever, or for your next session, prepared to perform again. So, we assume that with adequate calories, that's going to increase our recovery capacity all the time. But what we do have to recognize is there is a limit to how much we can actually overfeed and enhance that process. Because as a gaining phase or a bulking phase becomes extended, what happens is obviously we accumulate more body fat. And there's this culture, in the bodybuilding circles to think that, that body fat is helping us. The heavier we get, the better our recovery is, the more we can train, etc. because we have all these calories. But there's a limit to that, because what we have to remember is that body fat is not just some inert tissue that doesn't do anything. It's actually responsible for the secretion of inflammatory cytokines. So the more body fat you have, the more inflammation your body is actually creating, which is going to have a couple of effects that can affect your actual recovery and your ability to grow muscle, but that's for another time. But not only are you going to experience, reduced nutrient uptake, reduced ability to recover your muscles because of having all that extra body fat, you're also going to experience an increase in pain sensitivity, because we know that there is that interplay between inflammation and the experience of pain. So recognize that pain isn't something that is always directly related to the tissue damage. So for a given amount of muscle damage, or for a given session or whatever that you have to recover from, the experience of your pain and your delayed onset muscle soreness could vary depending on your body fat percentage. So this is one of a multitude of reasons that we recommend people stay within like that kind of 8 to 15% body fat range for males, and around 17 to 22% for females when trying to gain muscle. Because as you begin to push that up, the effects of those increased calories and the increased body fat could compromise your ability to recover from training, but also to get the adaptations that we want from training. Just recognize that body fat isn't just something that's just there for show. It does have a role. It does secrete different inflammatory cytokines that could compromise your recovery and, of course, your health. But in this instance, we're responding to that question of why has my recovery reduced the further I've gone into my bulk. And then you could also take it a step further to say that you are now carrying around a lot more body weight that isn't actually contractile. It isn't helping you move around from day to day. So it is increasing the load that you have to carry around all day, meaning your respiratory muscles are under more stress, your cardiovascular system has to work harder. And even when you go to sleep at night, you're also carrying more weight on your body that you then have to breathe against, that could compromise your actual sleep quality. So, the human body is a complex interplay of so many different systems, so much different physiology and hormones and these kind of things. But what we can do is kind of break it down into these simple little nuggets of information or principles that you guys can follow. And in this case, it's to try your best to stay a little bit leaner if you are looking to optimize your muscle gain and your health when in that calorie surplus. So you could adopt a slower, really gradual calorie surplus from the start, which we would recommend. Or if you do just like seeing the scales going up over time in a gradual manner and you like being able to measure that, you could adopt a cyclical approach in which you keep some mini cuts in periodically over time, so that you're tidying up that body fat and staying in a leaner state, staying in a heightened state of recovery and ability to gain muscle. I hope that answers your question. And any further questions, guys, drop them down below.